this is Arathi Narayanan, Head of Administration at ABS Marine Services, and joining me is Captain Kate McCue, the first American woman to command a megaton cruise ship. She currently commands Celebrity Cruises' $1.2 billion flagship, Celebrity Edge, a 130,818-ton, 306-meter vessel, sailing year-round to the Caribbean and the Mediterranean. Hello, Kate. Welcome aboard. I'm sure all of us are dying to get to know you better. Would you like to say something before we start?
I just want to say thank you so much for letting me be a part of this, and hello to everybody. This is really exciting. The Maritime SheEO conference is a great opportunity for us to get to know each other and also to learn from each other. So thank you for letting me be a part of that.
Thank you so much. So my first question to you. Yours has been a dream come true. Who or what has been your inspiration?
You know, I think inspiration is an ever-evolving thing. It's always around us. It just depends on if we acknowledge what it is at the time. Growing up, I always had parents who were the kind of people where anything is possible. And throughout my career, I also had captains and officers. I had my shoreside support team, and even my president and CEO at Celebrity Cruises, who happens to be the first female president and CEO. Those were my inspiration. Those were my mentors. And I think it's important that people understand that mentors and inspiration aren't just, an idea. They should also be someone who pushes you to be a better version of yourself. And so that's where I've really found inspiration. It was starting at home with my parents, who said I could do anything that I wanted to, and then the people that I work with and I'm surrounded by on a daily basis. And I think it's really important that you put yourself in a place where you have that kind of support around you, because when people push you, sky's the limit.
That's so true. So how did you keep yourself motivated through the 18 months before you landed a dream job on a cruise ship?
Well, when I graduated from the California Maritime Academy, I had a license that meant I could sail from tugboat to super tanker and everything in between. And this was back in 2000, where the internet was still kind of a newfangled thing, emails. I had sent my resume and my CV to every cruise line in the industry, and I sent it out both electronically and I sent it snail mail version. And 18 months, I hadn't heard anything, but I knew that it wasn't a matter of not being able to get the job. It was a matter of being able to get creative in getting my resume to the correct people. So after I hadn't heard anything back from the cruise lines, I changed my resume and I applied to be a bartender with Disney Cruise Line. And Disney Cruise Line took my resume, they looked at it and they said, well, she's not qualified to be a bartender, because I had never served a drink in my life, but she is qualified to drive our ships. So they actually forwarded my resume to the correct department, and that's how I got my foot in the door. But I was willing to do, honestly, anything and everything just to begin.
That's so nice. People who give up in the process, and you try to innovate, and that's really nice that you did that. So you have a lot to tell us about your experience on cruise ships. Anything in particular that you'd like to share?
This last year has been interesting. Normally, as a captain or the senior officers on board our ships, we do 3 months on board and 3 months off the ship. But my last contract, I have to say, was the most gratifying of my entire career. And it wasn't because it was the longest. It was 10 months on board instead of the 3 months. But, we covered all of the major holidays during that time. We had a perfect Caribbean season, and it all led up to a history-making cruise, which was our International Women's Day sailing. On March 8th, the ship sailed with the senior complement on board, all being female. We called ourselves Oceans 27 because we were 27 women that were running a ship which holds 4,750 people. And it was celebrating not only International Women's Day, but the fact that we could actually woe man our ship and have all of the senior leadership represented. This happened to coincide with the peak of the pandemic kicking off. And what that meant is it was our last cruise before the cruise lines and the industry basically shut down. But it was something that was really special, because as the world began shutting down and these things were evolving, to have the women in the positions that they were, whether it was from the hotel director and how we're communicating to our guest, to the bridge team and how they were communicating with the port that were shutting down. It was really interesting to see. But after that cruise, because we shut down, we got to keep quite a few of the complement of women in those leadership positions. And when you have 1,350 crew members on board the ship, and they couldn't get home. I think we're all aware about, the travel restrictions and how countries, the borders were closing, and repatriation of these crew members and the uncertainty of their future, whether it was with the company or their jobs in general or getting home to their family. Having women in those leadership positions and the empathy that they brought, not just to the position, but to this environment, was so overwhelming. It was the warmest, safest, most professional environment I have ever seen in my life. And I attribute that to having so many women on board and being leaders and being able to give that back to the 1,350 crew members. And I think they would all say the same thing, that they felt safe because of the leadership from these women. So I think that was probably one of the highlights of my career, was being able to have those people with us and get us through the strangest time in, I think, all of our careers.
That's right. I think all of you motivated each other. And empathy is inherent in women, and it's absolutely great to see that. And I wish we see that more in the future. So, what, in your opinion, do women have to do differently in this career?
I don't think that we have to do something different. One of the advantages to being a first is there was no rule book on being a female captain. I knew a female captain. I had never worked with her at Royal Caribbean, Captain Karen, who was the first female captain. So I didn't know how she did things. And that was a huge advantage in a way, because I didn't try to emulate her style. I had to figure it out and what worked for me. And what's interesting is when I was promoted to the second in command, the staff captain position, I was sent to Sweden for a psychological evaluation. And that wasn't just me. That's what they do for all of the leadership team, to make sure that they're sound to look after anyone from one person on board a ship to 6,000 plus on our larger ships. And you go through this psychological testing. And at the end of the test, you sit down with the evaluator and he goes through the results. And this gentleman sat me down and he said, "Kate, everything looks fantastic. You did very, very well on paper, but I do have an observation." And I was really interested to hear what he had to say. And he said, "Everything was great, but I find that you tend to smile too much." And I thought, okay, well, if that's going to be my flaw, I'll take that any day. I went home, I told my friends, I told my family. They said, "Well, you didn't have to go all the way to Sweden to hear that you smile too much. We already knew that." And they kind of joked about it. But when it was time for me to take over as captain and I was leaving the house, my husband said to me, "Remember what they said in Sweden, don't smile too much, you won't be taken seriously." I said, "Got it." So I got on the ships and I was doing a 2-week familiarization because Celebrity was a new company for me. And for those 2 weeks, all I was doing was trying not to smile and be taken seriously, because I was coming into a new company, new ships, new people. But after 2 weeks of trying so hard and realizing that this was something that I'd wanted since I was 12 years old and my dreams had finally come true, I said, "You know what? Sod it. I'm going to be me And honestly, it's been smooth sailing ever since. So I think my advice is don't try to be somebody you're not, because you're going to spend so much time, so much energy, and just wasted energy on something that you could actually bring to the table and make unique just by being you. So my advice is be true to yourself. One, figure out who you are, and then bring that and find a way to inject that into your position. And you bring such a fresh perspective that honestly, the men aren't used to seeing, and they really do appreciate it.
Right. I think all of us make that mistake at some point in time, I guess. So, as a commanding officer of a megaton cruise ship, how do you deal with stress, if any?
If any, there is a bit of stress. The greatest thing about this job is that it's not a regular 9 to 5. Everything is different from the moment you wake up. The weather is different. The people are different. The place that you're in that day is different. And evolving with that change is pretty fun. I like that because it keeps it exciting. But dealing with stress, one, I have amazing people. So I'm not trying to do everything. I couldn't do everything by myself. I have to rely on the people around me, empowering them to take their jobs and really go with it. I think is one of the ways that I can alleviate stress, because I can trust my people to get the job done. There's a lot of self-care that goes into things. I love doing yoga. That is my peace of mind. That is my zen out, check out, and check in with myself. And then I'm not going to call her an emotional support animal, but we call her the maneuvering support animal. I always travel with my cat Bug Naked, and just having her around, honestly, really does take away quite a bit of anxiety. In fact, when I give the opportunity to some of my officers to perform a maneuver, whether it's an arrival or departure, Bug comes to the bridge and she will stand next to them throughout the maneuver. And I've had them tell me that she just pulls this anxiety away. And I think she does that for me too. So being surrounded by my little family member, doing yoga, and then really trusting my people and making sure that they're empowered, because they really do protect me and take away a lot of that stress.
That's so nice to know. I think friends always take away stress. That's one thing they're always good at.
Exactly.
Does technology challenge you?
Whew, all the time. On the ships, we go back to continuous education. If there's a new program or there's new software, it's a constant learning curve. But the things that I have trouble with are the real world things. When I get home, the remote control and the TV really throws me through a loop, especially when I've been gone for 10 months. Reprogramming the clock on the microwave, just the really simple things that you're not used to and you get separated from for long periods of time. That just really does me in. And that's why I like to be on board the ship, because I know the equipment, I know where things are, and I know how to deal with it. But it's the real world technology. If my laptop goes down and I'm at home, forget it. It's kind of sad. And my husband will look at me and he'll go, "And you drive 130,000 ton cruise ship and you can't work Google?"
I can relate to that. I have first-hand experience with it because my husband is on board the ships, and when he comes home, he can't drive, so I do the driving.
You feel my pain.
Yes, I do. I see it firsthand. So what has been the response to your YouTube series? If you can see it, you can be it.
Oh, it's fantastic. I started this YouTube channel. I always thought it was kind of weird. Oh, I have a channel, but there were so many great questions from people, and the opportunity to be able to show the things that go on behind the scenes. Growing up, I only had the Love Boat on TV, and that was a very skewed version of what goes on cruise ships. And it's incredible, our day-to-day operations, from, even simple things like getting our mail to how we drive the ships, and being able to give a bit of glimpse. Really, the feedback and the following has been overwhelming, and so we're going to continue that. It's a bit difficult when I'm at home, because when I'm on board the ship, I post on social media, whether it's Instagram, YouTube, or even TikTok, when I feel inspired. And so you'll notice my posts when I'm on the ship, it's just, they're numerous. When I come home and I'm separated from that, I'm dealing with the real world stuff. We've got remodeling of a house going on, which is fun right now. So, but using those social media tools to hopefully get people interested who never even thought that this was a possibility or a career or something that they could do because they grew up landlocked. It doesn't matter where you're from or what your background is, you could find something at sea that interests you.
But I must say, I've seen some of those videos, and the way you've explained everything has been so clear and so crisp, and I think any layman would be able to understand what's going on board.
Oh, thank you.
So one last question before I have a surprise for you at the end. So life at home vis-a-vis life at sea, how do you handle the two different scenarios?
I don't handle life at home very well, I gotta be honest. My husband, he's a chief engineer with another company, and he's building ships in Italy, or he's home. And we did work together at one point. We were on Royal Caribbean's Mariner of the Seas and Jewel of the Seas when he was a chief engineer and I was a first officer, and he was a chief engineer and I was a staff captain. And what's funny is when we worked together on a ship, we would finish the day, we would go back to the room, we'd have dinner, and then we'd go to bed. And the conversations, because we were together all the time, it was very different. And then what we found is when we were separated by 12 time zones, I was down in Australia, he was sailing in the Caribbean, that 12 time zone difference meant that we could call each other at 8 o'clock. That was our golden hour, 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. So twice a day we would check in, and we had so much to talk about because we weren't together. And so I joke and I say the secret to a happy marriage is 12 time zones, but it's also, I think, having that time apart, because one, you figure out who you are, and two, you appreciate the person so much. When we come together, honestly, it's like a honeymoon every single time. And we make the most of that time. Last year, we saw each other, was it 29 days? But we met in 7 different countries, and we had these 7 different little honeymoons. We would just kind of have these little mini adventures because that's the only time that we had together. So I'm not saying it works for everyone, but we've been together for 14 years, and this is what works for us. He's extremely supportive of my job. He loves to come sail on the ship. He does so when he can. And he's such a good sport because he's got that captain's wife name tag that he rocks like a superstar. And he's very, very proud when he walks around the ship. He'll tell people, do you know who I am? And they're like, no, why would we know who you are? And he's like, I'm the captain's wife. It's cute. So that's something. And then having, my parents, I think one of the reasons that they were so supportive in me becoming a cruise ship captain was because it meant free cruises for them. So they're pretty keen to come and visit on the ship and sail with me when they can as well. This is just what I've been used to now for 24 years. And I think just being mindful to keep that communication link open. Technology's changed so much since we started sailing. It used to be you would get to port, you would make that mad dash for that bank of payphones. Everyone got 20 minutes. If you went over your 20 minutes, there was somebody else knocking on the glass saying, your time's up, let's go. Or sending telexes with $7 per word. Now we have FaceTime, we have Messenger, we have WhatsApp. And on our ships right now, the Wi-Fi is all free. And I think when it goes, in the future, they will find a way that it's even easier for crew members to keep in contact with their loved ones. But making sure you call home, My parents, when I'm on the ship, I call every single day at the end of the day to check in, because you never know how long you have with them, right?
So true. That's true. So I have a little surprise for you. We're going to have a little quiz.
Okay.
I hope you're game for it.
I'm game.
So I'm going
Nervous?
Okay. I'm going to call out some words, and you have to give me the first thing that comes into your mind, and you have just 10 seconds. And I'm going to beep after the 10 seconds.
Okay.
Go to the next. Okay. So
Okay.
the first word was Maritime SheEO.
Easy. Empowering.
Lady Captain.
Just call me Captain.
Cruise ship.
Home.
Sandra Bullock.
Speed 2.
Cargo ship.
How we get the goods.
Okay, so Sandra Bullock was because I think someone had commented that you resemble Sandra Bullock a lot in many of your interviews, and so I just picked it up from there.
Ah, we can only hope. I don't think so, but thank you.
Okay, so my next set of questions. Each of these terms have an animal or a bird hidden in them, and some or most of these nautical terms may be archaic, and all answers relate to ships. So my first question to you, a shelter for simians.
Monkey Bridge.
Monkey Island.
Monkey Island, yes.
Okay,
Monkey Island.
so you got half right. The second one, a watch spot for birds.
Crow's Nest.
That's great. The deck that sounds like an animal citadel.
Forecastle.
Oh my God, you're awesome. A feline raft.
Feline rafts. Catamaran.
Yeah, we had to have something related to the cat in there.
Thank you.
So just the opposite of the cat, a canine projection to improve headroom. I gave you
Dog. Dog ear, dog. Doghouse.
Yes, that's so right. I think you've got 4.5 out of 5. Would you like?
That was the hardest thing I've done in a long time.
Really? I don't think anyone's asked you these.
Nope. That's a first.
Okay, so would you like to say anything before we wrap up?
Again, thank you so much for this opportunity. Oh my goodness, sorry. That's my mom. Thank you again for this opportunity and for putting this conference together. It's very important that we build these relationships and that we have the support to get women into the most incredible careers that there are, and the opportunities are there, and you will always find support from me. So thank you again for this opportunity, and I hope to see you all soon.
Thank you, Kate. The last 30 minutes has made me want to chase my maritime dreams. You are a true motivator and an inspiration to everyone present here. Thank you, Captain Kate, for just being you. And to the audience, I'd like to thank you for joining us. Thank you and goodbye.